And hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Pumpkin Copter Cast, the only video game show. That's right, it's the only one, and today I'm joined by Noelle, and we're going to talk about her upcoming game, Flowerbud, a flower shop dating simulator.
Hey, happy to be here.
So, let's see, before we begin, we will start with everyone's favorite game show that exists on this show. We're gonna play, just warm up with a rousing game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Dark Souls. And how this works is I'm going to name three things, and you're going to guess if it is either Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Dark Souls. Because if it's one thing these franchises have in common is that they have names that don't sound like real words that anyone would ever say ever.
Exactly. All right, I'll try my best. I'm a little rusty on Yu-Gi-Oh! Dark Souls, little bit, I played here and there, so I'll try my best.
Alright, first one. Crossbreed Priscilla. Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Dark Souls?
Oh, oh man. Uh, gonna go with Dark Souls?
Yep, it was the boss from Dark Souls 1.
Nice.
Alright, next. Albaz the Ashen. Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Dark Souls?
Oh, that's a tough one. Sounds like it could be from either. Try Yu-Gi-Oh! For this one.
That is correct. It is a Yu-Gi-Oh! Card. Alright, for the final one. Let's see, it's just the one with the most ridiculous name. Let's see, Moonlight Butterfly, Yu-Gi-Oh!
Oh,
Or Dark Souls?
another tough one. Let's see. Dark Souls.
That is correct. You're three for
Oh,
three as a boss
no.
from Dark Souls 1.
Awesome.
And now we can move on to the actual reason why anyone would be watching this to talk about the game that will soon be coming to our computer boxes. So, Noah, how about we start things off with you telling all my five of viewer an introduction of you?
Sure. So, hey everyone, I'm Noelle. Oh, I am. Sorry about that. My dog is barking at a squirrel. I am Noelle, and I am the game dev behind Flowerbud. So yes, I'm Noelle, game dev behind Flowerbud. So Flowerbud is a dating sim first and foremost, and also a flower shop sim. So you take the role of the, um, as main character. You are going to be running this flower shop. Don't want to give too many spoilers, ahead of time, but you come to possession of a flower shop, and it is in your hometown. And your hometown, it looks a bit different since the last time, you've seen it. And not everybody is there, from, when you last visited, and there are some new faces. And you might see people in your shop that, um, you haven't seen in a while, or you are familiar with, or, well, as a character, or there might be some fun surprises here and there, but ultimately it is a dating sim with some shop sim elements, and it's heavily inspired by dating sims from the 90s, early Harvest Moon games. It's not technically a farming sim, but some of you know the tropes and the themes expressed in those types of games are present there. And there's just a lot of 90s, early 2000s pop culture references in there. Not too much so I don't get sued or anything, but
Mm-hmm.
heavily inspired by that. So um, that's a kind of like an intro to what it is. Do you want me to explain the main loop or?
I mean, sure. I mean, my next question would be like, what would be the elevator pitch you'd give to someone if they saw this like at a convention?
Sure, that's a great question. So if I saw somebody at a convention or I was there, my elevator pitch would be basically it's a funky dating sim with shop sim and town restoration elements,
Mm-hmm.
inspired by the fun, quirky dating sims of the 90s. And um, more of a focus on character rather than just simply number go up. So basically, like if I had to pitch this, is yes, it's a fun shop dating sim. It's not going to be a terribly long game. It's going to be a fun game, and um, a lot of the characters, because I see a lot of this in the current Harvest Moon games, and I'm seeing this a lot more in like these types of games where it's like, oh, everybody likes you instantly, or it's just simply like they either like or dislike you. There's going to be more of a nuance to that.
Mm-hmm.
How you talk to the characters, what choices you make, it will influence the endings. It will influence how these characters change. It will influence how the town changes. And it's not simply just, running a shop. You can choose to have your shop open during the day. You could choose to completely skip work and uh, go do a community event or a festival. Um, there's a big focus on player choice in what they do, and again, how it shapes the world around them.
Okay. And like you said, it's a dating sim. Did you play a lot of dating sims back in the day, or was just like making it a dating sim just seemed like the sort of right call for the story you wanted to tell?
So I played a lot of dating sims growing up. Hatful Boyfriend was one of my favorites. I thought they were interesting and fun.
Mm-hmm.
As a kid growing up, um, it's winter. It's winter constantly here. It's winter 9 months out of the year. So there's really not much to do, and it's stuck inside. And as a child and as a person with health issues, I've had a lot of time to play a lot of games, and I just I've always been drawn to games with rich stories and people. And dating sims were people think like, oh, like, yeah, sure, they're silly and they're tropey, but there are some great stories in there. And especially, I think the game that really inspired me to become a dev was Harvest Moon 64, was because of the people, the stories, the little, you know, things that they would say and do. And it's like I always wanted to play just one more day just to see how the characters evolved, what sort of, events were going to happen, like seeing the conversations between characters, seeing how they view the world. That's what really I feel like influenced this game and shaped me as a dev, was the relationships between the people and the world, and seeing so many diverse characters in a game and just being drawn to that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And uh, why a flower shop? Did you grow up near one? Did a friend or family member have one, and you remember it through this, or did you just like decide like, oh, a flower shop would be best for this kind of story?
Well, growing up, my grandmother was a gardener. Like she gardened all of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Always plants everywhere. And then currently I have about 50 houseplants in my home.
Oh
Um,
my.
I'm Yeah. Yes, I care for a lot of plants. I'm pretty busy with that. That's another like my other side hobby is gardening. I love to garden. I love to grow flowers, especially. I post all the time on my Blue Sky flowers that I've grown and arranged, and I plan on using that in some way in my game. Is real flowers and pictures I've taken of bouquets and putting them in my work. And that inspired me too. So it kind of all fell together perfectly. During the COVID times and everything, I had a lot of time to reflect and garden and really just think about what I wanted to do and what I wanted out of life. And ultimately came to this. And I've never looked back. And so, with this game is definitely heavily inspired by my hobbies and also, um, the Harvest Moon and dating sim. So just all came together organically.
Okay. And is this your is this your first like game that you've ever worked on, or have you had experience with game development before?
So off and on. So I originally wanted to go into game dev. However, back when I was younger, wasn't really, you know, I grew up in a pretty rural, I wouldn't say rural, but a rural town, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I go to my counselor and ask her, "Hey, I want to be a game dev," they didn't really have an answer for me or what to do. So they looked at my scores and they're like, "Hey, you're not that, you're all right at math and you're not so that great at like art, and so why don't you pick your second choice on your list and go into teaching?" So, I loved it. I loved teaching. I loved the families, loved the kids and everything. But, with my health and circumstances and, it just all fell into place that I'd rather be doing this. I'd rather tell stories that are impactful and, um, you know, help people in a more, I guess, broad way. And so this is technically my first full game that I've worked on, and I am working by myself. I am a solo dev. But when I was younger, I messed around with RPG Maker, of course. I had a copy on my old computer, and I would toil away with that. I never released anything, but I would mess around. And then, I just always found myself going back to game dev, and it just was always in the back of my head, like, you should do this, you should do this, like, you love this. And um it allows me to be creative and to fully express that. And it's very and not saying teaching isn't fulfilling, because of course it was, um and it is, it's a wonderful thing, but it's just this, um for where I am right now in life, it's just the perfect answer for me. And I've never, I just keep going and I keep doing it. And yes, it might be my first game, but um, I've already, you know, I've been doing this for about, planning and working on this for a little over 6, 7 months, and I'm making progress. And I feel like this is going to be a beautiful game, even though it's my first. But I think it's going to be a special project. So.
Okay. And if Phoenix Wright has told me anything, is that dating sim slash visual novel type games are nothing without zany characters. So where was like the pool of inspiration you drew from when creating the characters in your game?
So I besides video games, I watched a lot of anime growing up. I read a lot of manga. There's just gonna be a lot of influences from um, a lot of different things. I mean, I was reviewing an episode of SpongeBob the other day because there was something I wanted to put in and I wanted to make sure that I got it right. So a lot. I mean, I love Pokemon too. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Pokemon Blue was my favorite game. It was my second favorite game growing up. Like, there's gonna be influences from a lot, especially for character design. You're gonna see Pokemon, um, shoujo anime to be, brought about it. Definitely, Harvest Moon, Story of Seasons influences. You're gonna see them in there. But yeah, just a lot of different animes and shows and even American like I said SpongeBob or just silly cartoons that I watched growing up like I just writing the dialogue looking at the scenes I just keep going back to things I watched when growing up so it's just going to be there'll be a universal theme in art design and whatnot and characters but you're going to see influences from everywhere.
Yeah, I was going to, as soon as you mentioned Pokemon, I was going to suggest you watch, Pokemon Sensation, which is about Erica, who's one of the gym leaders who who owns a flower shop. No, wait, a perfume shop, but flower inspired.
Yes, that is an awesome episode. And actually, it's on my. I have like a list of things I need to go and rewatch. And it's funny you mentioned that because that's actually on there. I love Erica. Uh, that's actually a cosplay that I'm looking to do next year. I yeah, big fan.
I mean, she has a gloom, so she knows what she's doing.
Yep.
And yeah, it says like one of the central conceits of like the story and one of the what I assume part of the primary loop of the game is like and reconnecting and restoring the sense of community. Did you find that like I know you said you grew up in a rural area, but did you feel like it had the sort of community that you're like creating in your game?
I would say that because yeah, I grew up in a rural community, but we're outside of a bigger city, and I've lived and spent time in that city as well. So it's like I've been in both worlds. And I can tell you that um, no matter where, like in my own experience, I've felt a sense of community in both places. And yes, I would say that would be a big inspiration for this game too. And that's why I feel, I was drawn to those games, like Harvest Moon and in like the dating sims that have like those small communities and whatnot. It was because it reflected, I felt very at home in those games because um, you know, communities are diverse. You're gonna have all sorts of people. You're gonna have people that are hate to use good and bad like people aren't necessarily good or bad, but like you're gonna have different types of people. But what I've learned is that overall people just want to help one another. And, this game is definitely community focused. It's the main antagonist of this game is uh, is a corporation,
Mm-hmm.
and basically you're nudging the people to um, follow. Well, it depends on what you choose, but the path that they follow will either help or hurt the town in a way. So, like, I'm trying to really, I don't want to give too much away, but it's just that's where I'm going with it is these small communities and basically choosing to band together and helping people see that, it's okay to let your guard down. It's okay to work we need to work together to make a better world for ourselves here. And um, it'll be interesting to explore those issues. because I am taking from, what I've experienced in my own life, especially as somebody who not only has health issues, but also is neurodivergent.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be a little bit about that as well. It's just, you know, um, helping people realize that they're not alone, that if they want a better world, we have to work, we got to work together. We have to do this together. And there will be lesser themes to explore, especially with each dateable character. But that'll be something that I'm going to leave up to the player, and you know I'm gonna keep a lot of mystery to this for now.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and
Yeah.
I know the game is still in like active development, but like assuming everything goes smoothly, like when it is done and released, how long do you estimate it will have taken like in total?
So this is my plan, and it's a little optimistic, but I'm going to say that this game will it needs to be out by next year. That is my hard deadline for myself,
Mm-hmm.
and I've spent a lot of time in iteration. I've spent a lot of time in story crafting and really making sure the characters and the stories are authentic. And I've researched and interviewed folks as well. And I want it to be a good story. I want it to be true to the types of people that I am going to be, exploring. And I would say by next year, by the end of next year at the latest, it will be finished.
Okay, and you sort of flipped what questions we're asking where at the beginning, but usually do this at the beginning. But Noelle, what game and or like when were you first introduced to video games? First of all.
So, first of all, I was uh, introduced to games. My first system was the Sega Genesis, and I've been I've been playing games since I was, I want to say 2 or 3 years old. It's been a very long time. I have no quarrel with telling you my age. I'm 35, so I've been playing games for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So Sega Genesis, Lion the Lion King was my first game. That Stampede got me every time. That Stampede level was so difficult. And then also, Sonic, Knuckles, and I played a lot of NHL too with my dad. So yeah, Sega Genesis was my first introduction to video games, and I've been hooked ever since.
Okay, and let's see, what was your favorite game and or games growing up?
Yeah, so definitely Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
Pokemon series as a whole. Pokemon Blue, Pokemon Yellow, Gold is a fantastic game. Uh, Harvest Moon 64, Back to Nature. So yeah, definitely Pokemon and Harvest Moon were my two go-to games, and Kingdom Hearts a bit too. Yeah.
Okay. Since you mentioned Pokemon as a big inspiration, I feel obligated to ask, who's your favorite Pokemon?
Good question. That's a tough question,
Mm-hmm.
but I would have to say, like, I know I love plants, but my favorite Pokemon is Flareon. I love Flareon.
Okay. I mean, if you ever play a game of the Flareon, give it Flare Blitz.
Yeah, good one.
It's a as Flareons are primarily physical attackers. Uh, yeah, and what would you say is your favorite game and or games now?
As an adult, like, still find myself going back to Harvest Moon 64 every so often, and I don't know what it is. Just it has a very special place for me and in my heart. So definitely Harvest Moon 64. I often go back to that one. Um, yeah, and I still play Pokemon to this day. Um, Not sure how I feel about the new one coming out. We'll just have to wait and see how it is.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, definitely, right now, Harvest Moon, Pokemon still. um, yeah, I play those a lot, and of course, there's so many others, but if I had to pick, it's gonna be those two.
Okay. And I suppose we'll move on to the final question at the end of every one of these episodes. One that every guest I've ever had has always interpreted correctly, and there's never been any sort of confusion in. Noelle, in your opinion, is video games?
Is video games.
Yep, that's a complete
Hmm,
sentence.
is video games. Huh. Um, I think this is an interesting question. Um, is video games. I feel like, oh man, I'm gonna get philosophical for a second here, but honestly, how I'm gonna interpret this is, I think is advice is like, if you're making a game, I just want to say that you need to find inspiration anywhere. Everything is video games. Um, so yeah, that's where I would take that question is everything's video games. Don't look for inspiration just solely in games. Go out and experience the world. Like, I found a lot of inspiration for my own game just by going out for a hike, watching a movie, pulling from other sources of media, and having conversations with real people. Don't just stop at games. Definitely go out and experience life. Go touch grass.
All right then. There you have it. With that, we can bring this episode of the Pumpkin Copter cast to a close. I would like to thank Noelle for joining me. And if anyone would like to, wishlist your Flowerbud, your game, or just keep up with any news about it, where could they do that thing I just said?
So I primarily post updates on Blue Sky, and my Blue Sky handle is pxpetals, petals.com. I also have, of course, a Steam page for it, which I will update as I keep working on this. But the Steam page is Flowerbud. I also do have an itch page, and if you just look up my username, which is pxpetals.itch.io, it'll pop up there as well. So that's where you can wishlist it, is on Steam. Or if you'd rather go on itch, I have a page for there as well.
All right, you heard it there. Go wishlist Flowerbud. And if any of the like four people watching this enjoyed it, you can like and subscribe. Hit the little bell icon. If you're overly generous, you can go to patreon.com/thepumpkincoptercast, where for as little as $1 a month, you could submit questions for me to use in future interviews. And if you want to hear some slightly more coherent ramblings from me, you can go to your podcast platform of choice, where I and my various co-hosts have the podcast Gotta Recap 'em All, where we are recapping every single episode of the Pokemon anime and all the movies. Yes, including the one that gave people seizures. Yes, including the one where people kept pointing guns at Ash. All of them. And yeah, until next time, everyone, have a gourd day.
Take care, guys.